I'll go to Staffy first on this. He's been silent for a while, but Alejandro Garnacho again today. Chelsea are his preference. Chelsea are likely to go for him after they complete the deal for Xavi, which has just been an update on that. That's very close to happening. But Garnacho to Chelsea, is that a member of the squad that can help Chelsea get into this title race and maybe get them over the line for these major trophies Don's talking about, Staffy?
No, if I'm being honest, no. We were on the top 6 yesterday where, oh my God, I forgot his name. I'm sorry. The Chelsea rep.
Quiz. Quest.
Quest. Yeah. Shout out to him. He was talking crazy about Garnacho gassing up and all that. But I don't look at this as a priority signing. There's a reason why they're taking their time with it. They're probably going to try to lowball us by the end of the summer, knowing that he's not even going to be integrated back into the team. He's not even training. He's not in preseason. They're aware of all that. I look at him as a signing where Chelsea been making a lot of these signings recently over the last 3 years, where just look at players and they just see like if there's potential in them and a potential flip, I should say. They go ahead and make these deals. They try to get them on a cheap and try to give them one or two good seasons, whether it's at the club or on loan, and they'll go ahead and flip him and try to double their money. To me, he probably comes in as a replacement for Mudryk, and Mudryk had a very, very limited role at this team where he was like second or third option on either wing. He barely got any minutes, and I feel like because they lost him, they're kind of trying to replace him with a similar profile. And when I say profile, it's not necessarily the way they play, but at least like age-wise, the stage that they are in their career. They paid a lot of money for Mudryk, don't get me wrong, but I think because they lost him, they kind of want to add one more, and that's the only reason I'm looking at Garnacho like this. And to be fair, he's not even making it easy for himself or us, because he's just coming out crying about wanting to be in the Premier League. I mean, I don't know who's advising him, because I don't think he goes to Chelsea and even gets any minutes like that. And if he does go, I give it 2 seasons until he's shipped down again. So he's kind of putting us in a tough spot by just requesting Chelsea. News were coming out today. I think it was Ben Jacobs that said that he's getting bids from other suitors, but he just wants to go to Chelsea. That's his destination. I look at it being a cheap deal. They're gonna lowball us at the end. It's probably gonna be somewhere around £30 million at the end. You know, nothing near the evaluation that United wanted last year when they thought we're rejecting 50 from Napoli because we could sell them for 60 or 70. So it's one of those where I just want it done as a United fan. I just want it done. I want it moved on. I'll take the £30 million better than nothing, because I can guarantee that if he doesn't move, the guy's gonna get no minutes. He's not gonna be integrated back to the team. It's just so obvious. So Chelsea are in the driver's seat when it comes to this deal. I'll be honest.
Yep. Yeah. Listen, I'm with Ches on this one. Ches said it's a win-win situation. Yeah, and personally for me, you already know my feelings on Garnacho. Like I don't want this guy. You know, there's other players in that position that I'd rather go and spend that money on. For example, you've got Fofana, the one that might be going to Everton from Lyon. I'd rather even go fucking get in Dai from Everton, bro. Right? Go bring me in Dai, someone better than this guy, because I don't like his petulance. I don't like the baggage that he brings with his brother. You know what I mean? In terms of his finishing in front of goal, it's very inconsistent. He's similar to Noni Madueke. Like he gets in positions to score, but his finishing's poor. You know, on the ball, he's very easy to dispossess. You know, there are a few things that he brings off the bench in terms of his creativity, like he's good with the cutbacks and he finds himself in good positions. And if Maresca actually improves his finishing, he can be one of the best left wingers in the Prem. I'll be real, because like he knows how to get himself in those positions. But the problem that I've got, Staffy, is do I think he'll get there? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, bro. That's the problem. Yeah, and I don't know why you're doing all that, because how many times? Yeah,
finishing away from being. So you're telling me the only thing he's missing is better finishing to be one of the best left wings in the Premier League. Come on, man. What are we doing?
If his finishing, if his finishing was clean, yeah, and clinical, Staffy, right? You would not be cooking this guy the way that you do, bro.
I think he does well at Chelsea.
Yeah? I think I just gave you the weaknesses that he's got. It's not just the finishing. I agree with you, bro. There's a lot more that I don't like about this guy. But I'm saying one of the major problems that I've got with Garnacho is the amount of big chances that he misses, bro. He misses too many big chances, and I'm sick and tired of it. I just went through a season with Jackson, a season with Madueke. Now you want to go replace that with a guy that's similar to those guys. It don't really make sense.
But do you back your manager? Do you rate him?
I rate him, yeah, and I pray that he improves it. But whether he does it, I don't know, bro.
But the only thing about what you're saying that doesn't compute in my brain, and maybe it's because you're planting seeds for a classic Don I told you so, is you seem against it in one sentence, and then the next you're like, with a manager and a coach that you back and a team that you think is moving towards challenging for titles, which means you're in a good environment by proxy. Him being just finishing away from being one of the best wingers in the league, I'd be well excited about signing someone like that, removing it. But I'd be excited if you think your club's in a good position, being run well, great environment, improving, really rate your manager. I would be excited about taking a player that you believe is finishing away from being one of the best wingers in the world, who's leaving for him what is a toxic environment. That wouldn't be stressing me out at all. I'd be over the moon.
The reason why I'm saying that is because I've accepted that he's coming. That's why I'm saying that, bro. I don't want Garnacho, bro, because I feel like we can get players that are better than this guy already. Yeah. The point that I'm making is if he comes in, because I watch a lot of United, you know how much I watch your team, right? And I've got serious PTSD. I've just been going back and forth with D, talking about how we didn't really challenge last year because we kept missing chances. So why do I want another guy that's like that? Yeah. That's one thing that he needs to improve in his game, bro. He's only young. He can improve it. Cool. But he needs to improve that quickly, because I cannot deal with Palmer creating for this guy and he misses. Enzo creating for this guy and he keeps missing. I don't want that no more, bro. Yeah, I want guys that are, most of the time, when they're in front of goal, you're even celebrating before they get there. Garnacho, when he's in front of goal, everyone's sitting down, bro, because most time he misses. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget that miss against Spurs, yeah? The guy was in the box. He cuts in. I remember that time. That was in February, actually, right? Because I was in Paris at the time. He cuts in. You remember that shot, Staffy? And man just banged it over the bar.
The game because of it, or drew. I forgot.
Yeah,
I know.
You know what I mean?
It was probably his worst game last season. Listen, there's a lot more to his game. I hear what you're saying. There's a lot more to his game that needs improvement for him to be one of the best left wingers in the league. My biggest issue with him is it's always been the people who are around him. I think the kid is deluded. He thinks he's a lot better than he is. He's not even a squad player, because you can have limited players that are squad players that contribute more to the team, and you'll take him. The thing is, he's always viewed himself as one of the best players in the team. He's not a great dribbler. He's not a great finisher. His footballing IQ is so low. His arrogance just makes it a lot worse. I said it before. I'd rather have Dan James in my team than Garnacho. Dan James knew his limitations. Dan James knew what he can bring to the team. I'd rather a player that knows his limitations and works on improving his game rather than a player who thinks he's a regen of Ronaldo when he's never going to be that. That is going to be the biggest issue with him in his career. The biggest issue Garnacho is always going to face, that he's going to always think that he's bigger than he is. I don't look at his game and I think, can it be improved? Of course. Any player can genuinely, you could sit here and say, yes, I can make an argument that anything in his game can be improved. First of all, they have to be willing to do it first. Secondly, if you don't even acknowledge what you're not good at, you're never going to improve. His thing was, and this is probably where I'm going to end it with this. His downfall in his career is always going to be that he thinks that he's better than he is. He's never going to be a player that leads a team. He's not going to be your best, your first, second, or third best player on the team. Once you accept a role like you're a Martinelli or someone like that, which, by the way, I'd rather have Martinelli in my team than him. Yes, and people don't even rate Martinelli. I'd rather have a player that knows his limitation and knows he's a role player in the team than someone that thinks he's a regen of Ronaldo or something when he's never going to live up to that. And when it comes, by the way, to ball striking, I don't know what the hell you think Maresca's going to do, because Ten Hag, listen, as bad as he was with United, it's not like he can't tell a player how to strike a ball.
Yeah,
the same thing. That shit don't happen when you're 21, bro. No one's going to go to a 21-year-old and tell him how to strike a ball. You know these attributes. You either have it or you don't have it. There's players that go their whole career never scoring a goal because they can't strike a ball. And there's players who the minute you see them play 1 minute, well, not 1 minute, one game of football, you're like, yeah, he can hit a ball.
The thing is, his ball striking is not a problem.
That until he decides, maybe, you know what, I probably need to work on that. That's individual work. No manager is improving a player's ball striking.
I don't think his ball striking is the problem. The problem is his accuracy, man.
No,
like most of his shots,
horrible. It is horrible, bro. He strikes it like a toddler, bro. That's why he had like 7 goals last season.
I think it's more than that, bro. I think this guy's just a lot of his shooting is quite inaccurate. Like the thing that you've got with Garnacho, I've always said this about United, right? He's a problem when you're dependent on him. If you're playing him week in, week out, starting him week in, week out, you're gonna get mad because he's not at the level.
He doesn't believe that. He doesn't believe he's a role player.
This is what I'm getting at. If you've got Garnacho coming off the bench like what he usually was doing, towards the end of last season and that, coming off the bench, against tired legs and that, he is effective in that sense. But if you're starting him week in, week out, the same problem I had with Noni Madueke, you're going to get a lot of inconsistent performances. That's when you get mad at him, right? If we're bringing this guy in to be starting for us, I've got a big problem. Big problem. But if he's just there in the background, you know, like we're bringing in Xavi Simons as well, you bring him off the bench and that, you start some cup games and whatnot, because he likes to cook in the cups, let's be real, yeah? Then I'm okay with that. As much as I don't want him, I'm okay with that. The major problem that I've got is if you're starting him week in, week out, because he's not at that level to be starting week in, week out for any of our teams.
Yeah, but that's the issue that's not going to go away. This is why after the Europa League final, when he came out and said, I couldn't believe I only played 22 minutes. I played a big part of our season coming here. He had 1 goal, by the way, in the Europa League campaign. So going into that final, he gave us 1 goal. If anything, he almost cost us that second leg against Atletico Bilbao when he tried to chip the goalkeeper and he was missing chances left and right. The minute we took him out and we brought him Mason Mount, and to be fair, that was the only great game I've seen for Mason Mount in the United jersey. Terry will tell you that. Scored 2 goals as soon as he came on. Chipped the goalkeeper from the halfway line. If it wasn't for him, we probably wouldn't even be in the final because we were down 1-0 and this guy was fucking about in front of the goalkeeper. He's never going to be that player. You might want to bring him in as a squad player, someone who comes off the bench, starts the odd game, helps with rotations in certain competitions. If you're Champions League or Europa League or whatever, and you have like high volume games, sure, he's never going to be that. The reason why is that this kid came in at 18 years old and he started games for United and it got to his head. People like Terry was sitting there 3 years ago saying, oh, give him more minutes, play him more games. And I was screaming that he was never ready to be a starter. 3 years later, his games regressed.
Incorrect. I've said many a time that we threw him into the first team and gave him too many minutes too early.
He was calling him the next big thing and shit. I remember that shit. You guys gassed him up. People like you gassed him up.
No.
That's why we're here.
You cry all the time in the group chats when you get misrepresented, asking KJ to attain titles of videos and stuff. So this have this right. So I was very excited about this young man when he came through, but many a time on multiple occasions said, I think he's getting too much game time too early in his career. I don't think he's ready for it. We've done this to multiple players, and we've said that before. For instance, Rasmus, I still think if he came into our team with the confidence he had when he arrived, with a proper number 9 ahead of him and was used a little more sparingly, I think we'd be looking at potentially a better player right now. Chelsea have gone through that in the last few years where they've gone and got players. Someone like a Mihajlo Mudryk should never have been the money that he cost, going straight into a team that was dysfunctional under that pressure. If he'd have gone to somewhere like an Arsenal where he wouldn't have had to have been the main guy straight away and been nurtured through, there could have been a different path for him. Sometimes you get youngsters like Yamal, like Wayne Rooney, that adjust to it when Aries kind of doing it, where they adjust to it straight away. It's why I keep telling Arsenal fans, slow down on Dalman. I went and did the research on this. If Dalman plays 21 minutes this season, that's more than every other 15-year-old in the history of the Premier League. If he plays more than 200 minutes this season, that's more than every 15 and 16-year-old in the history of Premier League football combined. So you have to look at these things. So I do think there's a player in there. I haven't changed my mind on Garnacho having talent. Do I think he's the best player in the world? No, I think he could do quite well at Chelsea. I actually think he's going to do well there. I would rather him gone abroad, because I think at Chelsea or on Arsenal or other clubs that were linked to him, it may come back to haunt us at least twice a season when he plays against us. And I think what happens when he goes Chelsea is I wind Chelsea fans up about it not being good. I don't think it'll be that bad. He's going to go into Chelsea and there's going to be an environment in there where he isn't suddenly this top dog. At Man United, he became top dog too quickly in that dressing room before developing. He's going to walk into Chelsea, Reece James, Cucurella, Colwell, Palmer, etc. They'll be his friends and they'll get on with him. But they will not allow him to step out of line. He won't need Maresca. It won't need the manager to fall out with him. The players will self-police that stuff. At United, we didn't have that element. And I think if he goes somewhere where he's
Ronaldo, what are you talking about? Who else is going to put him in his place?
Hang on. See, but this is where you see again. That was his first season when he was playing. Then we all saw the promise in him. There was a player in there. It's what then happened over the subsequent next couple of years when Ronaldo was moved on. This man got put on a pedestal. This man was getting played too much when he wasn't ready. And it came to a point where he was undroppable. And we all saw actually in his first season and a half, his better performances came when he came on from the bench. And that's what most of us, including me, wanted for him at that time. Yes, I won't lie because the clips are out there, the videos are out there. I was excited about this young man because he was a talent when he came through, but I also don't like what's happened to him. But I will have the same energy for Garnacho as I had for the more talented players like Paul Pogba. This club has ruined people. And the problem is, and this is why I wanted a new manager when Ineos came in, and I wanted the cutting of the fat to start straight away is that you had to it didn't matter whether it's their fault, our fault, talent, hard work, bad agent, or all of those things combined. We have to start cutting out the problems in the club, and we didn't do that quick enough by keeping Ten Hag. That meant we didn't do it quick enough by removing the Rashfords and the Garnachos, and we're doing it now. That doesn't mean these players are not talented. The fact is, you look at the teams that want to buy Garnacho, they're pretty good teams. You look at who wants to buy Rashford, it's Barcelona. These guys are not wanted by Leeds United, by Luton Town, by Leyton Orient, some hokey pokey team out the back of nowhere. They're wanted by some of the biggest and best teams in the world. That is an objective indicator, and I know you love an indicator, Staffy, that there's talent there. So the only reason I questioned Don is I didn't understand what he was saying. But there's a real talent in here. And I still think, if we're selling him for 30, 40 millions, I'm going to condemn Ineos. That's far too cheap for a player with his potential. It is. And that's what I'm focusing on here. Chelsea want him. Chelsea are one of the biggest clubs in the world. That must be an indicator that although you don't like him and he hasn't done well for us, I think that means there's a good chance he's not dog shit.
Yeah. And listen, Terry, it's a win-win anyway, because if he doesn't work out, we'll just flip him to CEX boys and they'll come again. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's what I just said, bro. You man, Arteta will come in. Arteta will come in and it's CEX time, and we'll shift him over there, and we'll even get profit for him as well. Right? So that's how I'm kind of looking at it, man. He's competing against Gittins. Obviously he would come in. Xavi Simons is another one that could potentially start on that side as well. If you're overlapping the fullback, you've got Hato now that gives you more tactical flexibility as well. So he's not walking into an environment like a United. I agree with it 110%, Terry. But when I'm talking about him, how he is as a player, he needs to improve that finishing quickly, bro. Because I cannot deal with guys that keep missing chances again. I'm sorry, I can't deal with that shit no more.
I hear that. I do hear that.